My name is Robert Woods, Robert Matthew Woods. I live in Villa Rica, Georgia. I am preaching for the Hayes Glass Church of Christ in Bremen, Georgia. I obey the gospel under Brother A.C. Holt. His brother, Marion Holt, the father of G.P. Holt, was the minister at the 26th and Jefferson Street Church of Christ in Nashville. So I was baptized in the wintertime, and at that time there wasn't a building in Gallatin where black Christians met, and the white Christians didn't permit us to use their baptistry. So we had to drive the 26 miles from Gallatin to Nashville for me and my sister to be baptized.
And at what point in time after you were baptized did you know that you wanted to be a minister?
A long time.
Really?
Oh yeah, a long time. That was not a desire of mine at all. Didn't have that in mind.
Okay.
But the story can be simplified. There was a doctor, black doctor, in Gallatin, Tennessee, and he was a member of the church. This was about 1940, and he heard that the Nashville Christian Institute was about to open. Brother Keeble was going to be the president of that school. So he asked my mother if she thought I'm 11 years old now, if she thought I would be interested in going to this school.
Wow, okay.
My mother answered for me. She said, yes, sir, he'll be interested. So at that moment, they started getting me ready to send me to NCI. In that same year, I wound up at the Nashville Christian Institute.
Do you remember your first sermon, Brother Woods?
Yes.
The title and how the audience responded?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Our first sermon the title was Faith.
Okay.
So every year, the boys at NCI had a program at the Central Church of Christ in Nashville. That's the largest, at that time, the largest Church of Christ in Nashville. And it was right across the street from the famous Ryman Auditorium where the Grand Ole Opry broadcast from.
Okay.
So that was a big thing. And we being the only blacks ever in that position, I didn't realize what was happening at that time, but that was a big thing. And my subject was faith. So she drilled me, and it was so good that my picture was in the Nashville, Tennessean paper. The boy preacher that travels with Marshall Keeble, this was his sermon. They didn't know that was my first one, but they got that sermon. And from there on, I never did ask to preach.
Do you see any difference today between the older generation of preachers and the newer generation of preachers?
Yes, I see a lot of difference.
Such as?
The older generation of people had a camaraderie with each other that goes way deeper than just say we are members in this classification of preachers. It was a love and respect. Ministers respected each other, and they willingly accepted the fact that somebody had to be in charge. So there were always 2 or 3 top older ministers where if trouble arose, these old brothers were called in to settle it, and it was settled when they left. We don't have that today. Everybody runs his own ship today.
And how do you think that we can solve that problem?
We won't.
You don't think so?
No. We are on such a competitive level as far as information is concerned until everybody is willing to argue his point and go down with it to the end. That's just that.
Do you think the direction of the church has changed?
Yes. We're tending. It used to be the world was trying to get close to being like the Church of Christ. It seems now just the reverse. We are fighting hard to get like the denominational churches.
And who were some of the ministers that were influential in your life and your career?
Marshall Keeble. It has to be. Now, at the time, I was learning so much and being stamped and developed and molded by him. I would never have given him credit for doing anything for me because I resented having to travel with him when my vacation and everything that I would have normally had at home, I had to give that up to be traveling with him, sleeping on straw ticks and feather beds and all of this. So I was kind of resentful.
So you didn't see it as a privilege at that time.
Oh, indeedy. I saw it as a burden, total burden. And 1945 was my worst experience in Natchez, Mississippi. Oh my goodness.
Tell us about it.
Well, there was no Church of Christ black in Natchez. The white people invited Brother Keeble and his boys, 4 of us. Fred Gray, Robert McBride, Hassan Reed, and Robert Woods were the 4 boys. And we went down to Natchez, and it was a mess. It was a big plantation owner, I don't remember his name, but he had about 500 black people in these little shanty houses on his farm, plantation. Had a lot of old raggedy buses. He'd bring them to church every night in their overall, right out of the field, a lot of them right on to listening to us preach, under a big tent, like a circus tent, seats all upside the wall. The tent would seat about 1,500 people, and it was just about filled with white folk every night. They came out to hear Keeble and his nigger boy preachers. And we managed to baptize 12 or 13 people, and we left a congregation in Natchez.